The energy sector is experiencing a period of transition and innovation, which will ultimately have a significant impact on sustainability goals. Joining me now is Maria Dunn, the Chief Governance Officer of the energy company Phillips 66. They recently announced a goal to cut their emissions in half by 2050. Thanks for joining me, Maria.
You're welcome. Great to be here today, Julia.
Well, starting off with that, laying out a plan to reduce Phillips 66's greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2050, that seems like such an ambitious goal right now. How does that happen on a large scale, and where do you start when a company wants to set a major goal like that in terms of being sustainable?
Sure. Great question. So we started a little bit earlier in time by first setting 2030 targets. And we looked around our company. We are a downstream energy company, so we buy oil, natural gas liquids. We don't make them, and then we make them into other products, or we make them into feedstocks for other businesses or other sectors. And so we have a wide range of businesses, and we looked all around those businesses as a company. And we looked at our business plans and opportunities and said, what can we do in the first step? And we looked at things such as energy efficiency. I thought we heard Dr. Gabald talk about that. Carbon capture, lower carbon hydrogen, renewable fuels. That's one of the things that we make. Our products move people and goods. And so we looked at, is there a way to lower the carbon intensity of the fuels that we make? What research is needed, what enablers are needed, and what business opportunities there are. We make a product of synthetic graphite that goes into the anode, that goes into the battery, that goes into the EV system, and lubricants that keep EV battery packs cool and also help greater efficiency in any cars that we drive. And we quantified all of that and added stretch and said, we think on an intensity basis from our most recent normal operations, 2019, we can reduce our emissions intensity of 30% of our manufacturing, what our energy uses are and what power we purchase, and also of the products we make by 15% by 2030. And then when we talked with stakeholders, we heard that sounds great. These are projects-based, they're returns-based, they're additive of shareholder value, they're integrated into our compensation, and they said, great, what's next? And that's really how we then looked to 2050. And we said, what do we see as the drivers? What do we do to provide energy today? And what do we do to evolve? Because we have an expanding global population. And we're going to have, as Christoph said, an expanding energy need. So how can we do that? So we're looking again at greater efficiency, our portfolio, our power purchases, carbon capture, hydrogen changes, et cetera. And we see a need to enable that for policy changes, technology development. I think we talked a lot about that in the first segment, which was excellent. Consumer behavior changes. And supply chain has to be debottlenecked. And that mid-century goal has a lot of stretch in it as well. So we're really challenging ourselves because energy at scale, as you noticed, and you noted at the beginning, is significant. If it were easy, we would already do it, but it's hard, it's a complex system, but we're going to be working on it.
Yeah, and we know that, across the energy sector right now, given the state of the economy, inflation, we're potentially nearing a recession. There's this war in Ukraine that's having an impact on energy prices. I think there's a lot of questions here in the United States, maybe around the world, but especially here in the United States as to why we aren't tapping into, more oil supplies like the Keystone Pipeline, for example. But so from your perspective, I guess, should energy companies and, corporations, non-renewable and renewable, walk that fine line when there's such a demand for cheaper energy right now?
That's a big question. I'll speak to it from our company's vantage point. I don't really know as to renewable companies and others, but I know you have a terrific array today and tomorrow to talk to that. Big projects are highly regulated. They need permits, they have environmental review, they have community outreach and engagement, and they take time. And so part of what I think in terms of energy abundance, so our company looks at affordable, reliable, abundant energy. And that's, again, what can move products and goods and economies and people. But that takes planning, and it takes permitting, and it takes materials availability and project execution. And it takes talented people who are available, the skilled trades on that as well. So I think we need to think about it holistically, because it's very difficult to it's a system, it's an energy system. It's not a spigot or a happening, if you will. We can't just turn things on or off. And all of those drivers that you identified, Julia, reflect the complexity and the scale and the size that can disrupt the markets pretty easily. I think one of the really great things about the energy sector is markets seek balance, and the energy industry comes in, whether it's traditional fuel or electricity utilities, and is seeking to provide the goods so that people and commerce can continue to move and try to equilibrate as fast as we can.
And on that note, just about the challenges companies are facing across the board, I'd love to hear about the challenges that Phillips 66 is facing right now. I understand that with everything happening in the world, with the energy sector changing every day, it's got to really be an exciting and busy time to be at a corporation like that.
I think it is. So we provide products in a world of increasing electrification, which we think is great. There are a lot of tangible, we call them molecules. We have electrons and molecules, and we need molecules. Our phones, our computers, sometimes clothing, shoes. So many products come from carbon-based feedstocks. And so we're continuing to make those today. We want to do it affordably and consistently so people have what they need when they need it. And we're evolving. And so we announced at the beginning of 2021 a new group that we call Emerging Energy. And it has a stated public goal to deliver $2 billion of EBITDA by 2030. And that is ambitious. That, for context, would be about on par with the size of our midstream group or our chemicals, our specialties marketing group, or perhaps even our chemical segment. So really sizable delivery of revenue in a relatively short period of time. Of all the places where we could focus on evolving and expanding our operations, we got it down to 4. And we really looked at where we would have a competitive advantage, where there is value chain extension, and where it is still connected with our core purpose and vision of providing energy. So, and we looked at 4 areas. So renewable fuels is one. Battery technology, as the world electrifies, massive battery storage and battery technologies are needed. Carbon capture, probably more from sources and sinking and compressing and moving and then sequestering. Not so much at this moment direct air capture, but sources. And then hydrogen. A lot of industries and agriculture use hydrogen. And then we're seeing, and we foresee, that hydrogen as a transportation fuel in some areas. We see that in Europe, in the Alps countries, where it's a really good performing fuel. That hydrogen as a transportation fuel is also an opportunity. So those are the 4 areas that we're working on. We have basic research at our research group. And so that's all really exciting to see that expansion and growth of the company with new partners and new business ventures.
Right. And speaking of those partners and business ventures and really how you get to those goals, what type of investments do you think are needed to meet the sustainability goals of the company?
Our sustainability goals are really broad. And I guess the most direct way you can think about it, whether you think of sustainability as people, planet, profitability, and trying to find that sweet spot where the 3 of those intersect, or ESG, environmental, social governance, or sustainability, is to think continuous improvement. And when we do that, we think about it for our current operations. We want to ensure safety, first and foremost, right? We're a complex business. We manage risks. We have layers of risks, and we need to make sure everyone goes home safely every day, and that our products that we make, that are liquids, stay in the pipe, right? That protects people, communities, neighbors, and the environment. So safety is number 1. We got to financially make money. As a business, we need to be able to contribute and return value to our shareholders. And we need to reduce our environmental footprint, and we need to take care of people, both our employees, our contractors, our visitors, and our communities where we operate. And we think of continuous improvement along all of those areas. When we think of the new ventures, it's going to be new partners that we're doing things with. So we, for example, have a venture with a soybean crushing company in terms of feedstock. We're converting one of our sites in Northern California to be a processor of all renewable feedstocks and make all renewable products. And that's really exciting because on a life cycle basis, those renewable fuels are what's going to lower the intensity of transportation fuels that we talked about and help us reach that goal. So there are new partners who we're working with. We know that there are some areas that are going to be really hard or really expensive or very long to electrify or decarbonize, for example, aviation. So we're working with airlines to identify what sustainable aviation fuels they need and understand more the engine and performance and other equipment. So that's an exciting area to work with.
It really is. It really is
Yeah.
exciting, Maria. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, we only have so much time, but this is such a good conversation. I really hope it continues, and we'll definitely be watching the progress that Phillips 66 makes going forward. Thank you so much for joining us for the Hill Sustainability Imperative.
You're very welcome. We're delighted to have been invited. Thank you.